Good morning, CCU. It's great to be with you this morning, and I'm very pleased that we have a special guest with us today, our presiding bishop, Bishop Glenn Lyons. He's known to us as a congregation. He's preached for us many times, and we're very grateful that he could join us. Bishop Glenn, lovely to see you and to have you with us. I know it's freezing in Cape Town and cold and wet. Just to brag a little bit, it was 30 degrees here yesterday.
Well, it's 13 degrees here, and I hope you can hear me above all the rain falling on the roof right now, which we're very grateful for.
Good. Bishop, just a few questions that I thought would be helpful for me to ask and for us to hear as a church. Won't you reflect on or give us a national perspective on the effect that the virus is having on our churches? What are some of your observations about what's going on nationally?
Well, I'm sure you guys are feeling at a local level what we're seeing around the country, and as far as the effects of the churches go, of course, that we can't meet together, and we all feel the pain of that. But there are bigger things afoot as far as people's lives being at stake go, and that is preventing us from meeting, and we understand that. And so for now, we continue to hold off from meeting and endure that pain of missing each other because this virus has had quite a devastating effect on people's lives, and of course, consequently now, the economy as well. So yeah, we are seeing those kind of factors, which you are feeling at local level. We're seeing that around the country, obviously, and around the world.
And thanks for your leadership on the issue of reopening. It was helpful to us as a church. And most of the people that I've spoken to really felt that it was the right decision. And so we're grateful to you for that. How do you think going forward, I know it's difficult to know anything with certainty, but how has the virus changed how we should think about reaching people with the gospel?
So I think the great thing for us has been obviously the technology that's available at the moment. You look back at the last great global pandemic, which everyone has pointed to as being the 1918 Spanish flu. And the thing that really affected folk there was lack of information and lack of communication, which made for the response times to be a lot slower and also cut people off from each other. So technology has helped us. We've got the online world, and as much as it has pitfalls and evils and temptations, it's also been one of our greatest tools to continue to communicate the gospel and to communicate with each other. So we're very grateful for that, and many of our local churches have had to sharpen their skills on online communication, including myself, who suddenly realizes he's a dinosaur with these things. But we've upskilled ourselves pretty quickly as far as that goes.
Right. Just briefly, could you give us guidance? What are the greatest needs as you see them from your perspective, and what can we pray for, and what can we do as a church?
Well, okay, so obviously there are people who are affected by the virus. Some people have died. I know of some people that have died. But we're not seeing, thankfully, great numbers of deaths in our country. And so it does seem as if the precautions have worked. But the secondary impact, of course, is economic. And many, many people are losing income and have lost their jobs. And in our churches, many of our church workers are very, very severely constrained at the moment financially. And we're doing our best to partner with those churches to help provide funding for those churches. And I think one of the great encouragements for me in this has been to see how churches have responded and cared for those who are struggling and suffering in our poorer communities. So we certainly need to pray that will happen and continue to happen. And the other thing that's really challenging at this time is, I'm sure you're all aware of the racial tensions that are happening in America, which have reverberated around the world. And it's a right reaction to the racism that exists in the hearts of people. and affect societies. But we certainly need great wisdom in how we address that, in that we keep the gospel center in how we address these injustices, and not allow a particular agenda to derail that. So much prayer for wisdom is needed in how we handle those things, and how we stand for justice with a gospel perspective. And not a secular or a worldly perspective. So, particularly at our level of leadership, we get a lot of input at that level, and we need your prayers and God's wisdom in how we go forward in that.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time with us this morning.